Right now at noon, winter storms blasting millions across the country, including southern Wisconsin. And President Trump is pushing back against reports that he tried to interfere in the case of his former lawyer, Michael Cohen. Plus, Edgerton native Steve Stricker is being named the United States team captain. We'll tell you for what.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Kane. Thanks for tuning in to News 3 Now on this Wednesday afternoon. We'll get to those stories in just a bit. But first, let's head over to the Weather Center. Meteorologist Dave Frosty Caulfield has a look at your first alert forecast.
Another tricky morning commute this morning, Mark. And for the afternoon, we could see some areas of snow and freezing drizzle. In fact, we're already seeing the activity dwindle just a bit. However, that freezing drizzle is trying to mix in, especially south and east of Madison, where those temperatures have crossed over the 32-degree freezing line. In Platteville, a little bit of light snow falling right now on our Queen Bee Radio Skycam. And how do I know that we've received some freezing drizzle? I can see it with my own eyes on our tower camera on the WISC-TV Skycam in Madison. So expect some areas of flurries, some snow, some freezing drizzle possible this afternoon. Temperatures right now close to the freezing mark in Madison at 30. Above the freezing mark in Janesville at 34, 32 in Monroe, and 30 in Waukesha and Watertown. Wind speeds, there could also be some blowing snow this afternoon with gusts of about 20 to 25 miles per hour out of the south and east. Our day planner in Madison still could be a few flurries or patches of freezing drizzle by about 5 p.m., but I think the activity really wraps up quickly after that. As we head into tomorrow, we'll see mostly cloudy skies tonight, and for tomorrow, partly sunny skies and temperatures starting off in the 20s with highs once again in the low 30s. And coming up in just a few minutes, we will talk about snow accumulations and what to expect as we head into this weekend in your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
So we're done with the snow then for the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Until Saturday.
I think I can make that
Until
promise.
Saturday. Yeah. All right, Dave, we'll see you in a few minutes. And that winter storm is bringing a wintry mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain to more than 200 million Americans from the Midwest to the Northeast. Forecasters say the Twin Cities is on pace for its snowiest February ever. More than 10 inches of snow on the ground in parts of Kansas. Federal buildings in Washington are closed because of the snow, disappointing tourists.
I'm on a school vacation, and this was the one day allocated for the museums. The town is pretty because it's big sidewalks and nobody's on them, but sad.
The storm is being blamed for more than 1,000 flight cancellations nationwide. The heavy snow expected to move up from D.C. through New York and New England before changing to rain. Madison police are looking for two masked men who robbed a check cashing store while armed this morning. Police were called around 6:35 a.m. to PLS check cashing on Park Street for reports of two masked men who robbed the business. At least one of the men was armed with a gun. The men got away with the store's money and fled in a getaway car. Officials ask anyone with information on the robbery to call Madison area Crime Stoppers at 608-266-6014. A train that derailed in Jefferson this morning will have a roadblock for several hours. Police say Collins Road between Industrial Drive and Ryan Avenue will be closed for hours. It's unclear when the derailment happened or what caused it. Officials say no one was injured, but drivers will have to take an alternate route. The Trump administration faces new legal challenges over the national emergency declaration to pay for a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. The American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit yesterday. A group of 16 states filed a separate suit Monday that called the emergency declaration unconstitutional. Several landowners on the border are also fighting back. Mariana Trevino-Wright is the executive director of the National Butterfly Center, a facility that could lose about 70 acres of land.
I hope it's a wake-up call for all Americans that this administration that purports to be all about law and order is in fact lawless.
Last week, the Department of Defense released a statement saying the National Emergency Declaration authorizes the Secretary of Defense to determine whether border barriers are necessary. The White House and the Department of Homeland Security refused to comment about these lawsuits. And the president is fighting back at a news report that he tried to put someone loyal to him in charge of the investigation into his former lawyer and self-described fixer, Michael Cohen. The New York Times reported the president asked then acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker to put Jeffrey Berman, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York and a President Trump loyalist, in charge of the Cohen case. Whitaker told the president that Mr. Berman had already recused himself from the investigation and could not head the probe. The president tweeted this morning, "The New York Times reporting is false. They are a true enemy of the people." Well, Steve Stricker has been named the United States team captain for the 43rd Ryder Cup, which will be played at Whistling Straits next year. PGA of America President Susie Whaley announced Stricker's captainship today in Milwaukee. The Ryder Cup will be played September 22nd through the 27th, 2020 in Kohler. Stricker will be the 29th U.S. captain since the Ryder Cup started in 1927. Stricker, an Edgerton native who made the Ryder Cup debut in 2008 and played in 3 consecutive Ryder Cups. And we want to remind you about our Day of Warmth telethon happening tomorrow. It may be hard to believe, but some 200,000 Wisconsinites struggle to meet basic survival needs each year, and that includes heating their homes. This affects the elderly, veterans, and working families with children who often have to choose between eating or staying warm. News 3 Now is partnering with Energy Services, Inc. for a Day of Warmth telethon. It's from 4 to 6:30 Thursday evening. We'll be taking your calls and donations in a phone bank. You can also donate all day long online. Hope you can join us tomorrow to share the warmth for our community. And there's more to come today on News 3 at noon. We'll see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
No weeknight dinner is complete without a really good side dish. And the one we're making today is so good, it just might overshadow your main dish. This time of year, our markets are brimming with winter veggies. The good thing about these are they're reasonable and super versatile, which means they're just as good in our soups as they are sauteed. But my new favorite way to make them has to be roasted. Let me show you. We start by cutting half a head of cauliflower into florets and placing them in a large bowl. To that, we add some Brussels sprouts that we've cleaned, trimmed, and cut in half, along with some chunked up carrots and butternut squash. You want to make sure everything is cut about the same size so they cook evenly. And when it comes to cutting the butternut squash, we found that it's easier to cut it into chunks before removing the skin. Or better yet, if your market has them already peeled and cubed, pick those up. Now all we have to do is toss them with some olive oil mixed with a good amount of seasonings before roasting them. And when these babies are tender on the inside and crispy around the edges, are you ever in for a treat? You see, when we roast them, the natural sugars come out, making these irresistible. I do hope you'll go online and get the recipe for what we call roasted winter veggies, along with more of our roasted vegetable recipes. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found an in-season way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
All right, Howard, thank you. There's more to come on News 3 now at noon. Up next, a snowy start to your hump day. Meteorologist Dave Caulfield has your first alert forecast when we come back. Well, CBS Health gets a wellness check, and an office pool pays off with a jackpot. Diane King Hall has more in today's Money Watch report.
CVS Health's bottom line wasn't so healthy in its latest quarter and is predicting more difficulty this year. The drugstore chain says it lost $421 million in its fourth quarter. Blame that on a rise in costs and its 2015 takeover of a nursing home drug provider, which hasn't been very fruitful due to a decline in nursing home residents. UBS is slapped with a record fine. The Swiss bank was ordered by a Paris court to pay $5.1 billion. It was accused of helping wealthy French clients avoid taxes by stashing money in undeclared Swiss accounts. Meanwhile, millions of Americans are bracing themselves to fall behind on credit card bills. According to Wallet Hub, close to 40 million Americans believe they will miss at least one credit card payment in 2019. People between the ages of 18 and 44 are the most worried about being behind, and women are more likely to feel irresponsible or ashamed when charged a late fee. If you are in danger of missing a payment, 9 out of 10 respondents that tried to get a late fee waived were successful. And nearly 24 co-workers won big in the Mega Millions. They'll split the lottery's 8th largest jackpot and the largest ever in New York State. Lottery officials say the group chose a lump sum payment, which after taxes comes out to $176 million, or about $7.7 million apiece. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
Diane, thank you. Let's check Wall Street at the noon hour. The Dow Industrial is down about 32 points. The NASDAQ off 18. The S&P 500 slipping 3. Let's check in now with Q106 Farm Director Pam Yankee. Speaking of that lottery, we are not winning the weather lottery these days.
For sure. You know, although I like the temperatures outside. That's one redeeming element about all this is we're not freezing. We're not freezing as we slide around, but yeah, it's going to change again. It looks like this week. And the reason I bring that up is I just got off the phone with somebody that is stranded up in Minneapolis trying to get to La Crosse. Tomorrow is the beginning of Organic University for the North American largest organic farming conference that will be at the La Crosse Center. They're expecting 3,500 folks in attendance, and a lot of those folks are not necessarily accustomed to wonderful Wisconsin weather. So drive safe if you're planning on heading to La Crosse, or the Midwest Forage Symposium wrapping up this afternoon. That's a little closer up in Wisconsin Dells. Markets are kind of focused on a meeting going on elsewhere. Tomorrow they are going to be out in Washington, D.C. USDA's Ag Outlook Forum will include projections on what farmers will plant in 2019. Remember, we also have the European Union's developing story on Brexit that's influencing the market, and the Federal Reserve will release their latest minutes from their meeting, and investors watching to see what tone that sets and what they're talking about as far as interest rates. Now, on the midday, our markets are generally trending lower. The corn market is the only one that's currently trending up about a penny or so. Wheat is suffering the most, just lack of interest in our U.S. wheat around the world. Russia not exactly giving up terms on how much wheat they will keep within their borders. So a little bit of news there. Dairy markets, not much to report today. Barrel cheese did drop a penny and a half to 141 3/4. 40-pound block cheese unchanged at 159 1/2. Double A butter up 3/4 cent at 225 3/4. You know, we take it for granted, Mark. Even the vehicles that we are relying on in this weather. I just talked to a gal that flew into Minneapolis. She's trying to get to La Crosse. There were no rental cars available. There got heavy snow, I guess, up there. She ended up with a little mini bot of a car. A little teeny-weeny car, no four-wheel drive, no nothing. And she said she was anxious about her trip from Minneapolis to La Crosse.
Yeah, you can have all the drive you want, but you still got a break. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like I said, you know, when you are this far in February in Wisconsin, hopefully your driving skills are showing it.
If not by now, well, then
Good luck.
Move to Tucson.
Yeah, please paint your car so I know which one to stay away from.
Yeah, it's a good idea. All right, take it easy out there, Pam.
Yep, see ya.
And Dave is standing by with a look at our forecast. Not great driving weather.
Not great. There are some slippery stretches still across southern Wisconsin with this snow. The activity has dwindled a little bit, I should say, but there's still some areas of light snow and some freezing drizzle starting to mix in with that snow in some spots. And check out this photo, though, when everything was just snow in Madison this morning from Jim Moss, and of the beautiful Capitol with the snow falling. I'm telling you, even the statues on the Capitol building are getting a little bit tired of this snow. They're all looking away from that snow there. But as far as snow totals go through noon, Muscadet coming in with the highest total so far at about 4.5 inches of snow. A little bit over 4 in Prairie du Chien. Lancaster at 3.5. Madison, I just measured on the weather patio. We are up to 3 inches here at News 3 now. Verona 2.5, and Janesville, as we were expecting, south and east of Madison, a little bit less, with about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of snow being reported. We're starting to see at least not on radar, but we're getting reports of that freezing rain and freezing drizzle mixing in south and east of Madison. And even in Madison proper, when I went outside just a few minutes ago, it's a true wintry mix. Some snow, some sleet, some freezing rain, all trying to fall at once in Mad City. So the radar picture looks a little bit calmer compared to where we were this morning when there was some tricky travel outside. Still going to be some slippery spots, and there still could be some slick areas into this afternoon and early evening with the threat of that mixed precipitation out there. We have some birds flying away and also some snow flying down on the Edgewater Skycam in Madison. A wintry mix also showing up across portions of Dane County. Temperatures very key in a forecast situation like this. We're at 30 in Madison, above freezing actually in Janesville, at the freezing mark in Milwaukee, and at 31 right now in Watertown. Wind speeds, there could actually be a little bit of blowing snow as we head into this afternoon out of the south and east at about 8 to 15 miles per hour, but gusting a little bit closer to 20 to 25 miles per hour. So that's something we need to keep in mind. And the wind along with the light snow is making visibility definitely reduced across much of southern Wisconsin, down to 1 mile visibility in Madison, about 2 in Monroe and Janesville, and 4 in Prairie du Chien. So let's take a look at future track over the next few hours. Still some light to moderate snow and some wintry mixing in at times for southern Wisconsin. I do think as we get closer to the start of the evening commute, 5 or 6 p.m., we'll really start to see that activity get out of here. And then by the time we get into Thursday, we don't need to worry about any snow falling. Temperatures will be right around 30 degrees for highs, and then a chilly start to our Friday with temperatures dipping into the single digits. So another half an inch to possibly an inch of snow is possible for this afternoon and evening on top of what we have already received. So your 7-day forecast, a lot of eyes after this precipitation is done are turning toward the weekend with another chance of rain, snow, sleet, and freezing rain possible for Saturday into Sunday afternoon. After that, the active weather continues with snow possible Monday night into Tuesday, and then Wednesday night into Thursday as well. So as we come to the last week or so of February, Mother Nature is not letting us forget that it's winter still, and also not really wanting us to end on a calm note as we enter
Yeah,
March.
we can't break this pattern.
Right. I mean, they say that March comes in like a lion, but February is ending like 3 lions at this point.
No lion.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Dave. There's more to come on News 3 Now and Noon. Up next, how a father who lost his child is honoring other children who died from cancer. His story when we come back. An Iowa father turned the loss of a child into a beautiful way to celebrate life. He honors children who died from cancer by running in patterns that spell out their names. Adidas is recognizing him with the launch of a new shoe. Jenna Liston has more.
I'm gonna go up one more and then cut over.
It's an exercise many recognize. What Rick Zortman is actually doing spells out a bigger picture. It all started when he proposed to his wife with the message, "Will you marry me?"
And I was like, well, if I could do that, I could script together maybe words and names and just kind of go out and run them.
Then Zortman added an even deeper meaning to his runs after his 3-year-old son Armstrong died from brain cancer.
For like 6 weeks after, I didn't know what I was going to do. And despite the 5K that I did, it was that mourning period of what's next.
He says his son loved to run. That's how he came up with the idea.
I decided I was going to run children's names that had fought with cancer.
720 names in 8 states later. His runs have gained attention all over the world.
These are all different names where people have requested.
From taking name requests online to Adidas using his inspiring story in their new shoe launch in LA. He says getting the words just right has a few obstacles in the way. Even if it means cutting through a few yards to get there, stopping and turning back to get it just right. And in the end, a huge victory, he says, reminds people of his son's memory.
To be able to run in his honor and then to run for other people, I'm just honored to be able to do that.
And Zortman says he plans to fly out to LA sometime this week to help out with that launch of that shoe. That's a great story. Not a lot of great running weather around here, Dave.
No, especially with the freezing drizzle mixing in this afternoon into the early evening hours, and we're seeing that on a Doppler track across southern Wisconsin. Temperatures right around the freezing mark, and expect some slick spots into this afternoon.
All right, be careful out there. That's our time for now. We'll see you back here at 4. In the meantime, have a great afternoon.